Broads Media.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome on into Sports Talk with Broads. The Sixers are in third place in the Eastern Conference. At the time of this recording, they're a half game back from the second seed in the Eastern Conference. And basically, we're just going to backpack off of the last time we spoke about this team when all they were doing was putting together good wins, and then all most people were doing was bitching about Doc Rivers. This team is 16-4 in their last 20. James Harden and Joel Embiid are looking to be a special duo. Tyrese Maxey incorporating a new role off the bench, something that can help out the team. Oh, by the way, very big against the Clippers with the surge in that role. George Niang playing some beautiful ball. It feels as if what they're doing isn't really getting the respect that it deserves because there's a focus on one man. And I'm going to be honest with you. I'm a little shocked on how brutal it is, even knowing how we treat NBA head coaches in this city. When warranted, I'll freak out at Doc Rivers. I'll freak out with the best of them. I went to the game against the Thunder. So this was before the West Coast swing. I was there. Here's your starting lineup. Matt Cord. We know how awesome and electric that is. Joel Embiid, right? Before you get to the players, your head coach, Doc Rivers, or is it after? I forget which one. I think it's before, right? Yeah, it's before, I think. Yeah, I think. Your head coach, Doc Rivers. Boo! 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 They're third in the Eastern Conference. Oh, boo! Now, at the time, they weren't. But still, they were playing good enough basketball to get more respect than that. This is why it doesn't make sense. Because we are informed, and I even took some screenshots of some responses. Basically, I tweeted last night, 1 a.m., after that victory, Joel Embiid with a 40-plus. Joel at the end of half hitting a three. Huge block before Niang in the fourth quarter. Tobias, 5 steals. Tobias, 20 points. Maxey, explosive with some buckets of his own. But anyway, I tweeted this. Sixers just continue to win. I can't process how Doc gets treated as if this team is underachieving. And then in parentheses, he has his flaws, and I'll criticize when warranted, but there has been way too much complaining this season. Now, of course, you figured that there would be some responses, and here is one from Tim. You remember 2020-2021 when Doc finished high in the standings, and then they lost to the Hawks. Well, you had to play basketball with a guy who's unwilling to shoot the basketball. That's 5-on-4 in the NBA postseason. It's very difficult to win. That's a Ben Simmons. You lost because Ben Simmons is a fraud. You're not going to win NBA championships with frauds on your roster. And you're not getting a fraudulent version of James Harden. You're getting a special version, right? That game against Utah, Embiid gets 30, Harden gets 30 and 11. When you look at the game in LA, 24 and 13 for James Harden. He's getting Joel Embiid the rock in areas that Ben Simmons could never. He's a good passer. He's a good passer in the full court when the game's moving with high speed. That's not how it operates when the games matter most. Slow down. Can you get yourself some separation, your teammates some help? Well, James Harden does that with ease. With ease. Anyway, I don't put too much emphasis on the regular season, just so they can get jacked before the conference finals. If we rated regular season success, we should have kept Brett Brown. Okay, so to that point, if you feel like the regular season doesn't matter, which is what we hear from a lot of people, you can't pick and choose when this happens. What I mean is, if the wins don't matter, you can't say the losses matter. How does that work? So all the losses you could be pissed off at, And all the losses, you could point the blame everywhere. Even though that OKC game, Matisse Thybulle in 11 minutes was minus 27 and 0 points. He's got one job because scoring the basketball isn't part of his duties. Which, by the way, he didn't do that either. So he can only do one thing on the basketball floor. And he went minus 27. Let me say that one more time. Minus 27 in 11 minutes. Which is outrageous. And that's a player issue, by the way. Like, yo, dude, you're not good enough to improve your game at all. So the one area that we are going to utilize you in, minus 27 in 11 minutes. You can't look at just the losses and value them and be all outraged all day long and then say the wins don't matter. It's either you are caring about the results in the regular season, wins and losses, or none of it matters. Because at that point, right? I'm just gonna pick the ones that make the most sense for me. They're gonna win 55 games, but let's react to the difference in losses. I could do math, but I'm just too lazy to. It's just odd for me. I'm just trying to be fair. Do I have questions about Doc Rivers? Yeah. Yes, I do. Are there legitimate reasons to have questions about Doc Rivers? Absolutely. 16-4 in 20 games. And right now a half game back of the second seed in the East. What are we doing here? And I love this one too. Milwaukee is a little banged up. Brooklyn doesn't have Kevin Durant. So these games don't mean as much. Oh, I've gotten that too. Hold on a second. Once again, let's pick and choose when it matters to your side of things. The Sixers didn't have Tyrese Maxey for a long time. The Sixers didn't have James Harden for a long time. Do you see how ridiculous James Harden and Joel Embiid are together? You just weren't playing with that. And Embiid's doing everything. 40 plus, 38. Guy's outrageous. Doesn't make any sense what he's doing on a night-to-night basis. But here's a response by Bob. Okay, Hunter, contrarian opinion. I can't disagree with you about Doc Rivers and them winning right now, but Embiid doesn't spend enough time under the basket, especially on offense. He's 7'2". He should be getting way more rebounds. He doesn't post up enough. Okay. Alrighty. This is what happens, which irritates me, but it's reality. I'm enjoying this basketball team right now. And I know it isn't the day-to-day stuff at the moment. It seems Sixers are a little backgroundish. Eagles are getting ready for the postseason and all. But as soon as that run is finished and completed, it'll have way more of the emphasis night to night. With that said, I think part of the issue is there's this narrative that a basketball game doesn't have its flows. And what I mean by that is, if you go back to, I believe it was Utah, right? It was. They scored 41 points in the first quarter. And at one point, they had a 20-point lead. Then Utah chips away a little bit. They blew a 20-point lead. Do you watch NBA basketball? Did you think the Sixers were going to score 41 points in every single quarter? Of course there was going to be a dip. This is how basketball works. You're going to be up 7, up 2, up 6, down 1, up 3, down 4, up 6. It's a game of runs. Every time something happens in a game, there's this major pour of crazy, ridiculous emotions. It's the second quarter in an NBA game. Utah was going to score some points. Utah was going to do better than they did in the first quarter. 41 points wasn't going to be sustainable. Now, I'm not telling you I love everything that happens. But at some point, you got to realize that there's just going to be a natural progression throughout the game. Blowing a 20-point lead in the fourth quarter with 6 minutes to go, all right, let's have at it. At the end of the first quarter, you know how many times the Sixers, let's say, allowed 38 in the first quarter, and maybe they only score 21, so they're down 38-21 after, and then by the end they win the game? Nobody ever seems to bring that part up. No one ever seems to mention when that's the case. It's just bizarre because I feel like you're underappreciating Embiid and Harden and Maxey and even what Tobias has been doing. This one's my favorite. Doc doesn't know what he's doing with the rotations. I've been watching basketball for a long period of time. A long period of time. I've never heard an NBA fan say that a coach does well with rotations. Every coach in the history of the NBA is horrendous at rotations. That's what I get from that. Now, there's absolutely times when it's valid to say, I don't like when he went no Embiid, no Harden. Because I don't like that. And I think that's something that needs to be monitored. I don't like certain things. But I'm just saying, in a general sense, Brett doesn't know rotations. Doc doesn't know rotations. This guy doesn't know. Mike Budenholzer doesn't know rotations. Ty Lue, what's he doing? He doesn't know rotations. I'm just going through the list of all the arguments after playoff losses for all the teams. It's the same thing for everybody. I've never heard one person say that coach is good at rotations. I know you're thinking, right? Steve Kerr. If people feel that way, right? Because now people's brains are starting to spin. Oh, you mean the guy with one of the most talented rosters we've ever seen in the history of the sport has the ability to have better rotations? Huh. And I'm sure at times you can question some decisions from him. You know, we don't watch on a rotation-to-rotation basis of Steve Kerr throughout the X amount of years he's been in Golden State. But I'm just saying. Anyway, getting back on topic. Joel Embiid is absurd. Joel Embiid is doing things that doesn't make sense from the elbow. And I think every single night there should be an emphasis on what they're doing well instead of the fear level of what's going to happen. You can't fast forward. It's January 18th. Either you love basketball or you don't like basketball. And I'm not telling you need to pour your blood, sweat, and tears into every NBA regular season game because that's not the case. Yeah, there's a general consensus on what this team is. And I've been telling you from the rip what it is. They're a team that's in the mix with everybody else. From there, we'll see what happens. But it seems as if they're getting treated like they're underachieving or they're under 500. They're in 9th place in an Eastern Conference fighting for their playoff hopes. They're in the same range as the Bucks. They're in the same range as the Celtics. They're in the same range as the Nets. They're in the same range as every other team competing for an NBA championship this season. So all you can do from now until when the postseason begins is enjoy what they're doing when things are going well, like they are right now. Instead of just wait, it seems like instead of watching and reacting, it's, I already have it set in stone. I despise Doc. He sucks. He's the worst. I hate him. And every take now somehow gets pinned back to him. Instead of just seeing what's going on, it's how can I spin this because I hate Doc? At the end, Doc might not be the guy. We'll find out. but you're not living in the moment, if you will. I'm just trying to apply this to everyday, regular life. It's January, the middle of January, pushing towards the late side of January. If I told you something about summer, right? You got to get to summer first. And if you lived every single day just in the mindset of summer from now until then, like, what are you doing? To me, that makes no sense. You'll get there, and we'll get to summer. But there's a journey from now until then. Do you like basketball or do you not like basketball? Don't hit me either with, the only thing that matters is championships. I know. I know. Championships are the end goal. But that's the end goal. There's a lot of things that lead up to the end goal. Like watching Joel Embiid give you 40. Watching Joel Embiid go toe-to-toe with the greatest player in the entire history of the NBA, LeBron James. Both getting 35 out in L.A. They have a great start to this road trip. 3-0. A couple more to go. What is it, Portland? I think they have Portland and, what is it, Sacramento, maybe? And it ends on Saturday? Is that what it is? Yeah, Portland, Kings, and then they come home for a couple games. The Nets, the Nuggets, the Magic. Magic twice, actually. Yeah? Yeah, it looks that way. Then they hit another roadie. New York, San Antonio, Boston. It's a shame that Kevin Durant got hurt, though, because I would love to have a nice big one. Nice big tilt at the Wells Fargo Center. But, you know, obviously Ben and his whatever he is moves the needle, but it's not fully the same. Yeah, you know, I don't know. I mean, obviously you can tell I'm a little bit frustrated on it all. I love what this basketball team is doing, but I get irritated with the lack of appreciation for what's happening right now. Because it's a wild extreme. No way in hell is Doc doing such a bad job that in his own city, on his home floor, it's time to boo him when he gets announced. There's times when that's valid. The Flyers doing that to demand change for Chuck Fletcher makes sense. But you know where the Flyers are? The Flyers are at a point where people are wearing paper bags over their head. That's what was happening last season. Not so much this year with John Tortorella, but from an organizational standpoint, that's when you boo. He's done way too much good with this team to deserve that. I don't know. So, fun road trip so far. I think Maxey, I love the concept of having multiple different lineups that you could run out there. I think Maxey, coming off the injury, and by the way, just the professionalism from the kid. Here's a young kid. You know he can get buckets. You know he can start in this league. It's not easy to know that you're a legitimate starter and then goes, you know what, whatever's best for the team. You need me to come off the bench, I'll come off the bench. However you want to utilize my skill set, we'll find a way to make this puppy work. At his age, you could be a starter in the NBA at his age. On the Sixers, by the way, he was a half game back of the second seed in the Eastern Conference. So a damn good one. And he's opened up the door to all possibilities to not only thrive from a personal level, but to thrive as a team. Which is crazy. Because not every single player would deal with it the same exact way. But I think this is going to be great for him to kind of find his groove. Because, you know, it takes a bit of time to come back from an injury. Miss a lot of time. You're in a boot. You return. You want to make sure you're getting yours and finding a way to get your shots, but also incorporate the rest. Make sure Joel's still getting to his spots. Make sure Harden is doing his thing. Just keeping the team flow. So I kind of like this. I like the fact that you have some versatility with what you can do. It speaks to the lineup. I heard the TNT broadcast a little bit last night trying to say, well, if you're gonna rely on Maxey and Tobias Harris, then you're not going to win many games in the postseason. What are you talking about, dude? First off, the beauty of what you can do is you have options to rely on. If Harden's not having the best night shooting, which against the Clippers, there were some times you were going, in what universe is this happening? Distributing the ball, a different story. Finding the back of the net, as if I'm in puck mode a little bit here. But, finding the scoring touch, not so much. Not every team has Tobias as your fourth option. 20 points, 5 steals. And he was a dog defensively in the postseason last year. So it's not as if every single night we need Tobias Harris. Every night we need him to be an X amount scorer to win basketball game. No, on that night you did. And the fact that you have the ability on that night to get it, in my eyes, is important. And I look at that as a positive. You look around the league. First off, you look around the league at players' number one options. There's not many better than Joel Embiid. So let's start there. You look at the point guard role. Not many better than James Harden. So we go there. And after that, Maxey and Tobias, you got problems with? Are we living in La La Land? I don't see how that's a negative. It's not every night we desperately need to squeeze every ounce out of those two players to have a fighter's chance to win. You needed it because Harden had a little bit of a slower day scoring the rock for a bit of time. It wasn't his night. So someone else needs to deliver. Oh, they did? That's called having a deep team. Even Niang is showing his worth. Against the Lakers. Niang with the defense at the rim when Russell Westbrook, what a fraud, decides to take Joel Embiid one-on-one late. What a dope. What a horrendous decision. When players like that contribute, it's funny. If Milwaukee has a game where Giannis is going off, maybe Chris Middleton has a slower day, but then Drew Holiday picks it up and Brook Lopez is stretching the floor and makes a couple threes, maybe has 5 steals as well, so Lopez gives you 20, has 5 steals on the defensive end, crazy day for Lopez. Drew Holiday picks it up. Is the reaction, ooh, you can't win if you're relying on Brook Lopez to hit all those threes to play that way defensively? Or is it, that's what makes Milwaukee great? On a night where Middleton might not be finding his rhythm, other guys are there. I have a hard time believing that wouldn't be what was stated. You pick and choose. You pick and choose. I'm here to call that out. Damn it. All right. That's what we got. Those are my thoughts. Thank you guys for hanging out. Catch you on the next one.